All right, being 5:01 PM, we'll call the meeting to order.
Now you're on camera, Mark.
Yeah, now be careful. Does anybody have any comments related to the minutes of the last meeting?
No, Mr. Chairman, I read the minutes and I make a motion that we accept the minutes of this March 2nd meeting.
I second that.
March 16th.
March 16th meeting.
Yeah, that one, March 16th meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Since you guys keep me here, nobody decided to start working on the bills, warrants and such. I'll push those off and recognize James Hoyt from Tater and Howard for the project updates.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll start with Manly. So since the last time I was here, we had to go kind of redo the backwashing of the PFAS filters. As you may recall, the differential pressure through them was too high, it was out of spec. So we had a meeting with both the contractor and the manufacturer of the vessel and media system, and established that the most likely cause was inadequate backwashing during the initial startup. So we reviewed the protocol with them, had them come out and reconduct it with everybody present, and we were able to get the differential pressure back to within spec, so that gave us all kind of the peace of mind that was the cause of the differential pressure, was the fact that they weren't backwashed properly the first time. So once the differential pressure was where we wanted, we worked with Wayne to simulate the system being put to the whole treatment plant being put to the distribution system. So we slowly ramped the flow up to full capacity, like the whole full rated capacity, while also slowly adding back pressure to the hydrant to simulate the back pressure that will be on the plant when you're going out to the system. And we essentially checked the pressures through the plant from before green sand to after green sand, going into the PFAS, out of the PFAS, and everything was right where we wanted it to be. The differential pressure in the PFAS held where we wanted to be within spec, and as expected, we showed that the pressures in the green sand vessels were well within their design. So the original concerns we had about the differential pressure were resolved, and the issues of the back pressure elevating the pressures in the green sand was resolved. So with that, we told the contractor to move on to the next step, which is sampling and then a performance test. So the contractor took the samples that are required. If they come back clean, then what we'll be doing is having a DEP inspection. They're going to see, essentially we're going to show them that everything was constructed in accordance with the permit, that all of our end of project paperwork is in compliance with the permit, and they'll at that time let us go into the system. And when we first go into the system, we have what we call a 7-day performance test. So there'll be some, essentially we're going to run the system as it should, checking the water quality periodically just to make sure that, now that we're actually going out to the system, we're not seeing any unexpected hiccups. But we're very confident that the water quality is where it needs to be, that the operating parameters are where they need to be. So the performance test really is just to make sure we're getting the correct run time out of those vessels without having to backwash too frequently. And then just for our own sanity, we'll do another round of water quality at the end of the 7 days and make sure we're not seeing any signs of a potential early breakthrough or anything like that.
So when did they take the tests?
So I think it was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
But it did involve several PFAS samples, so
Yep.
we're anticipating 2 to 3 week turnaround. So while we're waiting for that, we do have punch list items. We sent a draft punch list to the contractor, not last week, but the end of the week before that, saying like, we're not giving you substantial completion yet because we don't have beneficial use of the plant, but here's a heads up of everything that's gonna be on your punch list so they can take advantage of these next couple weeks to start, banging out these loose ends. And then the big thing is, since we did authorize the SCADA work, there's a little bit that we want done before DEP comes out. Long story short, when we upgraded to the new licenses, that gave us additional tags within the software, which means we can add additional alarms to the system. And one of the things DEP likes to test us on when they come out is setting off, various alarms. Show me that Wayne gets a call on his cell phone if, the chlorine residual is too high. Show us that it's going to call Wayne if this pump fails. That kind of thing. They'll just ask us to check some things, and we don't believe that all of those are programmed since the software got updated. So that's kind of the other thing we're going to be pushing the contractor hard over the next couple of weeks, is to make sure they get all that figured out now, so that when we get the test results back and they're acceptable, that we can essentially go to the system as soon as Wayne gives us the thumbs up.
So you're thinking DEP the last week of April?
I think so,
May?
yeah. So based on that, we were planning on approving a no-cost extension to the end of April, because the last one we did was to the end of February. So technically they're, outside of the contract dates. So it's just kind of a procedural housekeeping thing to, and I think we'll aim for the end of April, because we don't want to push it into May, and then have them decide that they can, drag their feet on some of
Been
these
notified?
punch lists.
Yeah.
So they've been given a heads up that we've taken the samples and that we'll be scheduling an inspection tentatively in 2 to 3 weeks. So we put them on notice essentially, but we don't have them scheduled yet because we don't have the results back.
But but we don't get the results back till like for a couple of weeks, it's not gonna be an issue to get them back out or get them out to take a look, assuming they are good. It's not gonna be you call them, say we got
I mean,
say
they
we
probably
got the
won't be up
results.
24 hours later, is that your?
Well,
is that
not
what
the
you're
point,
getting at?
not 24 hours as much as, they say, okay, we can't get there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, they didn't last time with, Station 1, was it? Or
Well,
one of the
5.
stations, they didn't, yeah, maybe, well, 5, 8, they didn't come for like 3 or 4 weeks.
No, see that, and that's why I'm asking.
So that's why we gave them a heads up, so.
Or maybe, no, it was the pilot thing, when it was all set and we did all our testing. They didn't come for almost 4 weeks. You can't force them to be any faster.
So that's why I'm figuring, if you're gonna give them an extension, do we
Yeah.
bother officially giving them an extension if we don't know that they're gonna be able to get?
That's true, we could just tell them, we could just tell them kind of verbally, we're not opposed to extending it, but we want to confirm with DEP before that way we're not doing a second one, right? Yeah, we can handle it that way. But I guess while we're on that, I do have the funding update. One thing we need to probably circle back with you on, Wayne, is make sure that our ARPA numbers match. Because DEP, we're trying to figure out what battle with them is worth it or not. So essentially, when you get to the end of the project, there's additional paperwork DEP makes you do for the project closeout. And they typically make you do that when there's 5% left, just to make sure they have some funds held back to make sure that we all do what we're supposed to. They don't want to essentially reimburse you all the funds, and then it's kind of the same thing as retainage, how we hold money back on contractors so that they can't just decide that the value of the punch list is worth walking away. Similar idea, I guess, on their end. But the problem is they held up pay at 13 because we were at 10%, which is not what they're supposed to do. So the internal conversation we've been having is we can pull that back. We can pull essentially pay application 13 back, pay the contractor out of ARPA just to make sure we don't hold up payment to the contractor, or we're gonna have to fight a battle with DEP saying, you can't, this is holding up payment to the contractor. We're not at 5%, that you have no reasonable reason to be holding up payment. But as we saw with, some of the pay applications here, they're 3 months behind reviewing some of our reimbursements on that project. And then, are hitting us with like, oh, we don't like the wording on this AIS certificate you submitted 3 months ago. And then it's generating additional, work. So, if Wayne's not opposed to it, I think we were,
I can,
but that's why we just want to make sure we have, because we were always going to pay 13 out of SRF, and then 14 was going to be paid out of ARPA. So we're just essentially switching the order so that while we get the paperwork into DEP, we're not holding up payment to the contractor. So we just want to check with Wayne to make sure we have the ARPA number right, so we don't, we don't
spend money. we don't have.
overspend or underspend on ARPA. Because we're tiptoeing that line where, we have enough funds.
How much is it? What would be the requisition be valid? What's the dollar value of it? Percentage
Good
of the
question.
contract or?
I don't remember. I can find out, but, yeah, it's,
Basically, we're trying to spend all the ARPA money, so we're borrowing less out of the SRF money, right? That's
essentially we're trying to spend
idea.
all the ARPA money, but the ARPA money is paying for the change orders first, and then paying contractor bills second. So I think after pay app 14, because 13 was submitted to DEP, and they just got back to us saying it was held up. Meanwhile, I think 14 is in our court now for review, so that one's gonna, we're coming up against the next one already. And I think after pay app 14, there's like 150,000 left, after we pay 13 and 14. I just can't remember the split in the values between what 13 and 14 are.
I don't have 13s, I only have up to 12.
Okay. It's gone to DEP, so we can make sure that you get it.
Yeah.
Well, what was the balance of 12? What was the balance of finish? The last one you got then, Wayne?
304.
304, so it can't be more than 95,
so
so
it's
5%,
150.
you want 200,000? It's 5%, so 5% of 5 million is $250,000, so. All right, no big deal, just
It's
curious.
just getting them to process the paperwork.
Yeah. So essentially all we're gonna do is, instead of paying 13 out of SRF and 14 out of ARPA, we're gonna pay 13 out of ARPA, so we're not holding it up. We're gonna get DEP the closeout paperwork, and then process 14 through SRF.
Okay. Well, but if that's gonna include change order work, is that DEP gonna give us a hard time on some of the change order work?
So DEP has had the change order in their court for a while, and they requested to review it, but they're not paying for it. So,
Well, but technically they would be if it's on 14. But if 14 is gonna include the change order work, pull
so
13 away from them, pay it with ARPA, then submit 14 with that work.
it would, because we would own, when we fill out our monthly budget form, there's eligible costs and ineligible costs. So we would own, even if the pay application, say it was from Bisco for 200, but 100,000 of it was for change order work. We'd approve a $2,000 pay application, but the reimbursement that goes into DEP is only for 100,000.
So then what would have come out of the, So we pull, right now, 13 is in there as eligible.
Yeah, I can't remember if there was any change order on that one. Or if it was
So if we pull it out and pay it with ARPA, now they don't have that in their court anymore.
Right,
To make sure we have enough ARPA money that if we do this and they come back and say, well, we're not paying for this percentage because it's ineligible, it's change order work, we're not paying, then we still have enough ARPA money to pay.
that's what
that.
you're saying, yeah.
Okay, otherwise now we're gonna go looking for money somewhere if we don't have that covered.
I understand, yeah. We're confident there's enough ARPA to pay for all of the change order, so it's just a matter of double checking the number with Wayne, so that we spend the right amount of ARPA after we pay for all the change order work.
So 13 was 270,089. And the ARPA, this is, I'll verify, is 533,149.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
So, Rec 13 was $270,089. Right now, I show in the ARPA fund $533,149. But I just have to verify that down to the dollar.
Okay, but if it's that much, and we paid 13 out of that, it'll give us
It'll drop it, yes.
220, no,
Isn't,
260 after that, which would be more, would you be able to pay for the change order work this
Yeah,
evening?
because because the only change order
was the bag
is,
filter,
yeah, so that was,
70 and change.
and was that all encompassing and included the filters and like the filter modifications?
yeah, so it was essentially kind of all lumped in together. So we had change order 1, which was the no-cost change order at the beginning. Change order 2 was just the 6157. Then change order 3 was essentially the next 3 items. So the 57, the 70, and the 98 were all combined and ended up being something like 140,000.
And then the SCADA.
And then the SCADA, yeah, which it's italicized because we haven't applied that to the pay applications yet. But you guys did approve that change order.
So that'd be, so basically we have 200,000 worth of change orders to pay, and there's 260,000 roughly left.
Right,
If we do the ARPA for the 270.
exactly.
And SRF would cover whatever else is in 14. So there's no extra out there.
Right.
Yeah, and as long as you can coordinate that number with, that you guys come up with the same ARPA expended and remaining is with Wayne, that should work.
Yeah, I mean, we check with them every month just in case somewhere something gets skewed, but it's been tracking each month.
Okay.
Yeah, just the only other thing to point out is up here, we've updated, the spent and the estimate to complete. The engineering is still showing being about 47,000 and change under budget. So just a reminder that between the ARPA and then the engineering being under budget, the project is now $541,840 under what the original SRF principal was expected to be when we did our last look at rates. So the principal affecting rates is significantly decreased over the course of the project from between some of the savings and then some of the funding that the water department got elsewhere. Any other questions on Manley?
John, anything?
Nope.
Mark?
Okay. So for Sear Norman, this one has a little bit more going on. So I guess the first thing I'll mention is the funding source at the top did change this month. It's been kind of the same for many months, but long story short, the emerging contaminant grant, they moved the goalposts yet again, but as much as it's caused extra paperwork for us, it's actually worked in our favor. Because if you remember, originally, they weren't going to let us move the money that was tagged for PFAS piloting to construction of Sear Norman, which is where we actually wanted it. But because they decided to make us redo all the paperwork, we were actually able to move that funding over. So now if you look, essentially the italicized numbers are the ones that changed. So, you know, the emerging contaminant grant is continuing to pay for the engineering part of Sear Norman. Once we get the paperwork approved, $879,000 of money that the water department's already spent will be reimbursed through that program. And then Wayne's going to, once he has that money, work on having it be available to apply towards, you know, the project later in the construction cycle. And then we also have now this just under $1.2 million of grant money to apply towards construction of the Sear Norman plant. So the way that breaks down is, you know, we have the total project was a 16.3 that included engineering and construction. Once we account for the grant, there's 13.2 million that needs to be funded. SRF is covering 10.7 million of that. So then that leaves the 2.5 million that will eventually need to be funded. And just as we noted before, that 2.5 assumes that we're spending the entire contingency, which is 5.5%. So that's the 727,000 is the contingency amount. That's for 5%. We're aiming for our change orders to be closer to the 2% mark we consider successful. So if we're not using the full contingency, then that remaining to be borrowed number would go down accordingly. And then we've updated under the funding breakdown what's been under the project budget status. We've updated all those numbers to represent the latest bills that you've paid. And I say that, but I did include Pay App 7, which has gone to Wayne and Art for their reviews, but hasn't technically been processed. But in anticipation that it's going to be accepted, I just put that number in here. So that,
How much is it?
So that is there.
yeah.
Which is pay app number 7. Roughly?
384?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's in that
Oh,
ballpark.
384,000.
Yeah.
384 and change. Those carrying costs of the monthly stuff killed you.
Yeah, I mean, they also, I guess we can get into progress this month. They've put in a lot of steel, and we've had our first couple concrete pours too. So they're making a lot of progress week over week at this point, which is good to see. So when we're paying the bills, we actually feel like we're seeing things go up.
I see concrete form still up.
Well, yeah, we won't let them take them down right away. They would take the forms down the next day if we let them, but we make them leave them up for a minimum amount of time. But if you were to go up there right now, what you would see is that for the part of the building where we have the below ground tanks and the basement, so to speak, and that floor was poured 2 weeks ago, and then last week we poured the first wall, which is kind of the tank where the wet well is going to be, so the aerator side of the building. We did those walls.
And those are stripped, right? Those won't, because I drove past it quick, but I thought the back wall, northernmost wall had already been stripped.
So those we
Yeah,
would
once
allow
that-
them to strip
those
because
would
that,
finish up.
we're a week past that pour, yeah. Yeah, so we have I'm doing my next rebar inspection Wednesday afternoon, and then they're gonna do their next concrete pour either Friday or Monday, depending on progress. Because they can only put half the forms up until we've come out and signed off on the rebar. Otherwise, we can't see the rebar down low once they put the forms
Has
in.
there been any issues on the rebar you've been inspecting up till now?
Minor, and they've all been corrected in a timely fashion when we brought them up. So, they actually subbed it out, so Marguerite is out there doing all of the form work and the rebar and the concrete. What's been kind of nice about this one is that the concrete plant has had staff on site as well. So during the first concrete pour, when the slump was at the top end of what we'd consider acceptable, then we had someone from the plant on site to tell them, tighten it up, less water at the plant. We want it showing up with a lower slump, so that by the time, it's on site and they're putting it down there, the slump is more in the middle of the range as opposed to on the top of the range. And we don't always have that luxury of having someone from the concrete plant on site to make those changes in real time. So it's been a pretty smooth operation. I know we've had some other,
Well, it should be, it's
challenges,
taken long enough.
but yeah, I will say now
Who are
that
they
we're-
using for the concrete?
Delphine, I think is how it's pronounced.
Dolphin, yeah. Dolphin A.
Yeah, something like that.
Down in Lakeville. No,
Yeah, they're down in that area.
they got a long ride,
Yeah, because we were turning.
Del Free or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Because they're not far. We looked it up and they were just under a half-hour trip. We did have some challenges on that first pour where, we require them to do, frequent testing of the concrete. A lot of times, they'll only test when they do cylinders, which is every, either 55 to 100 yards of concrete, but we require them to do slump and air tests much more frequently than that. And their testing company showed up with only one person, and they had trucks showing up every 15 minutes, and the testing couldn't keep up. And we wouldn't let them skip testing because of their own lack of, preparation. So we did have some instances where we were turning trucks away because they were timing out, so to speak. They can't place concrete that's left more than 90, it's not more than 90 minutes old leaving the plant. So, that's kind of stuff we're on site making sure from a QA/QC standpoint is being abided by. But it was, these are the things that happen especially with the contractor like Waterline, who's very aggressive. They're experienced. They try to
But the
get
3-month
as
line
much
schedule,
done.
so they're not too aggressive. They're aggressive in payment, but
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be a point of contention with them is the schedule because,
Yeah.
they didn't anticipate the foundation issue.
well, it's because they swapped the
Yeah,
building.
which was from their building, so.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think we all understand those circumstances. They were not foreseen by the contractor. That's not our problem. Right. But, from their point of view, that delay was unexpected. So, again, our point of view is that's not our problem.
Exactly.
But it's a touchy subject with them, so.
As far as their pours going, they're going a little faster than they were planning to when they gave that last schedule up.
Well, that's yeah, so I will say
So
they're seeing
they're
the
picking
schedule
some up.
tightening up. And like I said, it's been aggressive, I mean, we're averaging a pour every week.
But it's not the concrete, I think it's the testing guy. Right?
That was slowing us down on
Yeah, the
site.
testing guy, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
They had plenty of concrete.
Mhm. But we can't have them getting too far ahead of us because then if, God forbid, a batch doesn't pass spec, and we're now 2 trucks
Right.
later, it's nothing, we're not taking it back out of the hole, right? So,
That
you
would be a
know,
problem.
we can't let them
No,
go.
I get it.
Yeah,
If you don't have the testing right, if the concrete comes out bad, you're not gonna put it in the hole.
exactly. So that's what slowed them down a bit.
But they've got the guys there now that they need to be able to continue it.
Yeah.
and keep it moving.
Well, I mean, we pulled the water line guy aside and said, this is what's going on. You know, we can't tell them what to do, but we maybe suggested that, can this testing company send out more people? Can you slow it down coming out of the plant, right? It's like, all we can tell you is that if the concrete's too old, it's not being placed. If you don't get the slump under control, it's not being placed, right? And, you know, Waterline didn't put up a fight. Every time we asked them to correct something, they corrected it. They didn't complain about the trucks being sent away, so. But, yeah, the second,
away. It's too old, you don't take it.
It sets up, it's getting too hot.
I mean, especially a lot of times, you know, they're really pushing for this early strength because we won't let them do anything until cylinders break at design strength. You know, and they want to do hydraulic testing of the tank. They want to fill it with water, and we're not letting them do that until we see cylinders that are breaking above design strength. So they're all pushing accelerants and early strength admixtures. So if it's sitting in the truck for 90 minutes, it's with
starting.
accelerant in there, right? Yeah. So
We paid much attention to that. So so when they take a sample before they pour it, and they test it at that time, is that how it works?
yeah.
I'm not familiar with how they do
Essentially,
concrete,
so we usually so this case they had a pumper truck.
Yeah,
So we don't want the first yard that comes out of the truck. So we have them put 1 yard into the hopper, so to speak. Then we take a sample, and then we do the testing company does the slump test. If that passes, they start placing it. We get the results of the air. And then if everything's okay, then we let it fly. If one of those comes back, they gotta stop, they can't, and they gotta send the truck away. And then bring the next one in, hope it does better.
Meanwhile, with the pouring, they get cylinders so they can test, let that go so that they can break the
Exactly, so
cylinders.
yeah, we're taking cylinders, in this case, we did them,
But that's
Every-
not good when you got it on a wall and you got half the concrete and you're rejecting trucks, right? That's setting up.
so that is, so that was,
That's
that's what the
concern
concrete
too.
guy is pushing is, he was getting mad at the guy because he doesn't want cold joints.
Of course.
Right, so, yeah,
It's like a double-edged sword there.
but we got the entire thing poured, all with concrete, that was within spec, within the age, and all placed in a timely fashion, so, like, it was, you know,
How many trucks you turn away?
good luck.
yeah, it was just a couple.
Couple, more than a couple.
No,
Well, as long
it really
as-
was just a couple. It was the domino effect, right? So it's like each one's coming, and then it just starts to add up a little bit. So yeah, it's about 2/3 of the way through the pour. We just had, we got too old, and then
Interesting.
but yeah. But all the pours we're doing now are smaller. They're easier to handle with the testing and the number of trucks. So we probably won't have one that's quite that challenging again until we do the next big
Because
slab pour.
now you're into the walls and.
Yeah.
You're out of your walls, but you still got more walls.
We still have more walls for the lower level.
Yep.
And right now, while they're doing those, they're starting to excavate where the spread footings will go for the part of the building that's slab on grade. So they're kind of doing that. And then the other pieces, they're gonna bring in another crew to start doing the pipe work. So they've submitted a traffic control plan to the highway and I believe the police to see if they had any feedback on the traffic management plan. And they intend to start that work shortly, and they'll have a separate crew doing that.
So this is for the pipes coming up through
So this is,
the roadway work and,
this is up on Norman and then a little bit by the corner store. A question did come in on the abandonment of the AC. So at some point, Wayne, I want to sit with you and go through the pipes. I think what they're trying to do is minimize how much of the AC pipe we're touching. So that whole AC pipe that we're abandoning, they want, I guess, a little bit of feedback on if we really want them to cut and cap that pipe versus abandon it with the, yeah, so essentially they don't want to needlessly cut up and handle AC pipe, but some of these pipes connect to other pipes that go beyond our limits of any of the plans and as-built we have. And so we're just concerned if they truly do leave them and say abandon valves closed, pull the boxes out, cut the stems so nobody can open them, but there's another pipe connected to it somehow. We just want to make sure we're not potentially ever going to have that valve have water up against it, because eventually it could leak by.
Well, it should at least be kept at a minimum. The live line, if it's connected to a live line.
Well, right, so if it's connected to a live line, we will not allow them to do it this way. We'll make them go down, cut it and cap it everywhere. It looks to us like all the lines we're aware of are not a live line, but there's one that goes kind of south as it leaves Norman Ave. And I don't know if that's already a dead line or what. So I was gonna pull up plans at some point with Wayne, kind of trace the lines and see if he knows where they go. If you don't know either, then we'll
if anybody knows, it's Wayne.
I know where they all go.
Yeah.
They've been saying this for a long time, and I keep asking what pipes.
Yeah,
And
so,
nobody's sat yet.
so we'll highlight it, and then, like I said, maybe we'll just hop on a Teams call with you
Yeah.
and trace the line and just see what you want. And then, yeah, we can kind of go from there. So just, I guess, an up before I hop into the next thing, on this budget sheet. I just wanted to go through where we are with the PCOs and change orders. So essentially 1 through 4 are all kind of closed business. We've talked about those and closed them out. You know, the first 3 were rejected, the credit was accepted. These next 3, well, I guess the next 4. So the winch, they came back with a number, it was too high, we said, no, come back again, we don't have a new number yet, that's why it's TBD. But the other 3 that are in italics, these are ones that are currently in review. And so what we've put in here is kind of our guess of where that will end up pending review. So number 5 is waterproofing. We're recommending a rejection. We showed this on the architectural plan.
I thought we didn't we officially reject it? I thought we did.
So this is different than the PCO3, which was the architectural installation. Remember, we rejected one that was just like a cosmetic thing. They were worried about chipping, then they wanted more money than it was worth. This one is different, where we have some waterproofing shown on the architectural plans, but the architect didn't specify a specific material, so they submitted an RFI on it. We replied to the RFI saying use this material, then they submitted a PCO, and we're rejecting it because it's clearly shown in 2 different places on the architectural plans that they own it. And so they haven't provided any justification to say, well, there wasn't a spec, so we provided.
So they were looking for the full cost of waterproofing, not like an
Exactly.
upgrade from, okay.
Yeah, so, it's not my job to tell them what justification to resubmit if they want us to consider it, right?
Remember, you're being
But-
recorded, we don't want them to be watching this and you tell them how to get around it. So-
Yeah, no, but it's just a matter of, it's not acceptable the way it was submitted. So, our recommendation was for that to be rejected. So number 7, you know, I think Art is aware of this one, but I don't know if we talked about this at the last meeting. But this PCO is related to piping modification on the suction side of the high lift pumps. Long story short, the pipe gallery is really narrow. So when we designed it essentially flange to flange, and when we got the actual dimensions of the butterfly valve, the operator was too close to the wall and staff wouldn't have been able to easily operate it. So we had to essentially rework the piping to get it so that the operator would work. So we essentially went from a 12-inch butterfly, we dropped down from 12-inch to 8-inch pipe closer to the tank wall and reconfigured it and put some 8-inch gate valves. And when we did all of this, we had to add some additional straight line pipe so that we could even out the turbulent flow before it enters. And so this PCO essentially is...
Is it the valves that we spec'd out, or is it something that because they wanted an alternate?
No, so this is what we spec'd out.
But they're supplying those. Okay.
Yeah, so this, essentially we provided an RFI to change the configuration from what was on the plans because what was in the original design was just too tight. So...
How did that happen?
On paper it worked, and when the true dimensions of the butterfly valve, it was too close to the wall.
So for 12 grand, we gotta reroute it, or redirect it, or?
Yeah, so it's essentially, we're getting a credit for the 12-inch butterfly valves, but then we're paying for 8-inch gate valves. And even though they're smaller, they are better, more expensive valves, but we need them for the hydraulics because we're essentially reconfiguring it. Then we have additional pipe fittings and pipe supports to make it work.
Do we have a breakdown on that? I'm just curious how they come up with $11,911 just for...
Yeah, we have it. I think it was...
Well, that's
again,
not theirs, that's theirs. That's Taylor and Howard's estimate of the number, right?
So
I
no, this
understand,
is theirs. It's still in review. I think we sent it to you, but it would have been very recently.
I haven't seen it.
So...
How many linear feet of pipe do they have to redirect it for 12 grand? Are we talking like from here to the wall, or are we talking like within 10 feet of a...
No, it's closer to
6 to 8 feet.
Yeah.
These guys licensed plumbers, or they just kind of...
Well,
It's process piping, yeah, so it doesn't...
That includes a different intake inside the tank, inside the wet well too.
Correct.
They changed a bunch of stuff in it from the original wet well design that Taylor and Howard changed to make it work with a different valve and to make it, to go to the smaller valve. That was it. If it fit, it would have been fine, but with that butterfly didn't fit. It added, big fitting pipe inside the well.
Mm-hmm. And the pipe support
additional
inside the
pipe
hot well.
support,
Yeah.
plus the gate valve, which is more expensive than the bigger butterfly. So, and things had to be, it was
Yeah.
there's a bunch in there. Again, I'm not sure where that money, how that dollar value came.
Can you bring the breakdown for the next meeting?
Mm-hmm. And then PCO 8 is some additional work for the magmeter vault. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but we were on site, I think the week before plans and specs were available, and realized we had to add this magmeter, so it was kind of added to the plans, and we kind of knew that we were going to have to figure it out in the field a little bit, just because we didn't have all the information in front of us. So essentially it's $592 to do some additional piping that wasn't on the plans. And so that's what 8 is. So you should have 5, 7, and 8 in your court, Art, for next time you have a chance to look through some stuff.
I saw something Victor sent, I don't know if it was this morning or Friday, that said something about PCOs, but I haven't even opened it yet.
Yeah, I think the PCOs probably went to the end of last week, and then some, I think we hit you with some more shops today, so I'm sure it's just buried in your pile. But it should have a breakdown. Again, I'm just, I'm not asking for, approvals tonight, it's just an update of the project budget
Okay.
and some PCOs that have been submitted. And then the last thing here I have is a Hungerford and Terry upgrade with just an estimated cost of $15,000. And so, long story short, when we did the design of the building in the process, we have our green sand plus media, but the vessels need to be a non-proprietary spec. So essentially we have to design the overall green sand plus system to be non-proprietary. So that's what our current design is. Hungerford and Terry specifically have this configuration where when you do your air scour drain down, they leverage the blower they have to do an air assisted drain down. And it uses automated air valves essentially to sequence that correctly. So our design is manual. It's got essentially a combination air vacuum on top, and it uses just gravity and the release of suction or vacuum to do the drawdown. Hungerford and Terry likes to do it the air assisted route. It's consistent with what's over at Manly, and it's, if we could do proprietary specs, it's what we would like. So Hungerford and Terry, during the process of the shop drawing review, pointed out that they have these valves, and so there's no additional cost from Hungerford and Terry to do it their way, which we do think the way it is on the plans will work. It is probably, it would extend that process slightly, but we're talking going from maybe 5 minutes to 8 minutes. We're not talking about increasing 30 minutes to the process, but there are benefits to doing it the way Hungerford Terry likes. But even though Hungerford and Terry is willing to essentially give us the valves as a swap for the combo air release vacuum, we would need to pay the electrician and the integrator to hook up those automated valves that we would need for the air assisted.
Is that what that 15,000 is for?
Yeah, so essentially Hungerford and Terry is saying, would you be amenable to do it that way? And we said, I can't go to the board and ask what they want to do without having some idea of what the cost is going to be, for Waterline's piece. So Waterline said, because Waterline does their own electrical, does their own instrumentation. So they said, they believe it would be about, $15,000, and to let them know if they should prepare, a formal PCO for review.
How many valves are we talking about?
So,
The 5 tanks,
yeah, so I think
so it would be 10 valves.
10 total valves, 2 per tank.
The solenoids, like Manly was spec with 24 volt DC solenoids. Every time I've ordered from ASCO, they send me 120 volts, no matter how hard I try. I have not been able to, in the 20 years I've been here, purchase a 24 volt DC thing. Can we get them in AC instead? I mean, even Ben said that, he can convert them over, I just have to switch the heads over. It's a doorbell transformer converting 120 down to 24 volt DC.
I see, okay. I will send you what they submitted on,
Yep.
and if it's not what you want, then now would be the time to ask them.
Those solenoids are part of the air scour system?
Yeah, because the
Over
total
again.
valves are like $500, and it takes 90 days to get one to find out that it comes in with the wrong head on it.
Yeah, I can also look and see if those are on the list of spare parts or not.
Yeah.
And if they're not, we can consider asking for some at this time. If it's, I just don't know
It's just a
how,
matter of order it one way or the other. The cost is exactly the same. It's just, I have not been able to order one,
Yeah, that's
even when
what
I
I was
call
thinking.
ASCO themselves.
There's no wiring to the old stuff?
so the other system was manual,
Manual.
so,
There's no wiring?
No, it's not tied
Correct.
into the instrumentation, there's
Yeah.
no
Okay.
power. But that's what you have already at Manley Street,
Yeah,
which would make both systems run
right,
the
they'd
same
be
way.
identical.
so, I mean, our recommendation would be to request a PCO. At that time, they'd provide backup. We
The
can,
breakdown immediately.
my gut tells me 15,000 for 10 tanks is about right,
Or say 10,
but we need to see it.
10 valves that they're.
My gut is, let's see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good gut feeling, Mark. So, okay, so we'll request
Yeah,
a formal
request
PCO.
the change order, so that'd be change order 9. And that way we'll get the breakdown, we'll see what the number is. It goes half of the service line credit.
And then the last sheet is just the 3-week look ahead. I just thought that's something I'll start bringing each meeting, just to kind of give you a sense of what's going to be happening in the next 3 weeks. And so kind of as we talked about, it's very concrete heavy for the next 3 weeks. So we're continuing to do the rebar formwork and concrete pours for the walls. And then they're starting to excavate for the spread footings for the part of the building that will be an elevated slab. Slab and grade.
The pipe work we were talking about won't be till after the.
It's not within the next 3 weeks,
Okay.
but right now they're starting to lay the groundwork. So they're trying to get an answer on the AC pipe piece. They asked me about that, I think Friday of last week. So that's why I said I'd circle back with Wayne on it once we've had a chance to do our due diligence. And then I think either beginning of last week, or the end of the week before, they submitted a traffic management plan to the highway department just to give them an opportunity to comment on it. I haven't heard anything back, but I don't know if Waterline has. I wouldn't expect Wayne to hear from them, but I did ask Wayne just like, hey, offhand, has the highway department called you asking about this? So it's just something to follow. We'll follow up with Waterline on, before they get out there is, did you get any feedback on your traffic management plan from the highway department or the police?
They're probably more the police. The DPW doesn't really get involved in traffic, and I think
Yeah.
when I spoke with Waterline guys, they said that they reached out to Phil, but Phil said he just wants to show up on day one to see it, and
Oh, okay.
that's all he's concerned about.
Oh, okay. That's good feedback. Yeah, I think it's more courtesy than anything, right?
Right.
Water department versus highway department, before you start digging up the roads. They've already pulled all the permits they need for it, so highway knows it's coming, but.
Okay.
Just if I can, so just to get back to the winch, to be determined, so where do we stand on that? Is it
So
something that they're gonna need a winch? And it wasn't in the original drawing of the spec, so where do we stand?
Well, it was, it just got taken out. when it-
Yeah, so, the RFI, the question during bidding was misinterpreted and we answered the wrong question, not the one that was asked. So they came back with a price that we thought was too high and Waterline said,
How much was it?
I think it was like $11,000 or $12,000.
That should be right on the tip of your tongue.
No, I've got rejected, they need to come up with something different, because it shouldn't be that high.
Yeah. So, they said, we'll reach out.
But that's poured in the floor, right?
No, so this one is the portable gantry that goes upstairs, so if you ever needed to pull your pumps up through the floor hatch.
And the gantry's included, it's just the winch that goes along with the gantry.
Yeah, so downstairs we have essentially a monorail that was designed by the structural engineer that's got a winch down there so you can, get the pumps off and over to,
Where they go.
Where the hatch is.
yeah. And then there's a hatch to get them upstairs, so you have a gantry that you wheel over the hole. And that's what's missing in the winch, is to actually, pull it up through the floor.
So that gantry moves around. And that gantry, down below, there's nothing heavy enough to put that down in the hole, that gantry.
You can't get the gantry down in the hole.
I'm just saying, it moves around. Is it picking something up that will make that thing?
It's moving around upstairs to
But
pick
is
up
it
what
too
the
heavy?
thing downstairs brings over. And it's
That-
sized for the weight of the thing that's
That's all I'm
downstairs.
asking.
But we don't have a winch that has to go on it, so. Get a chain fall and the guys can just go like this for
Yeah.
45 minutes to get the thing to move 6 inches. Yeah, it had a winch in the first place, and then the question got answered wrong. And now we gotta,
I always thought that was mounted.
No, that one, is
You
provided.
just spin it away from the hole, then you spin it, then you pick it up.
before I forget, water line, that our next morning meeting, is that next week?
So it's the third
Third.
Tuesday.
Third, all right, so I do have, I'm just checking to make sure I have it right in the calendar.
Okay.
Okay, so I do. Have they run into any other issues out there? Or things been more or less going?
No, like I said, some minor things to work out during that first concrete pour, but, they were addressed and resolved adequately.
Do we have all the piping and stuff on site that they're supposed to be doing the install when they get to that? Have we been-
Yeah,
Like I said, I remember seeing the piping on the page.
yeah, a lot of that's out there. Our vessels are there. The delivery of the building was supposed to be last week, but
Next week.
But I think they pushed it to either this week or next week.
Next week, yeah.
So it says in the plan.
Well,
Yeah.
the 15th, so a week from Wednesday.
We provided them space out past.
They've asked for space here in Norman Ave, so like they can use it, it's clean space.
Okay. Remember the building, they were worried about the amount of stuff they had, and I know
Yeah.
we were talking about that area
Yeah.
off the back there. Anything else for James?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Anything else for us?
Nope, I think that's it. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks and then go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Sooner if something comes up that we need, let us know, just in case something else needs to be looked at.
Okay. Oh, I have one quick question for you, Art.
Too late.
Okay, fair
No,
enough.
go ahead.
No, go on. So now that we are transitioning internally to using Procore, all of our construction photos and daily reports are posted up there. So I didn't know if you wanted access to Procore so you could see those in real time, but then that's a separate software than you're using for all the water line stuff, or if you wanted us to, like, once a week, pull all that down and send it to you.
Do it weekly.
Okay.
Too many different.
That's what I told
Going
him.
on right now between different jobs, and I spent 2.5 hours almost today because one of them decided it was gonna stop working. I had to re-download and reboot the whole stupid system to be able to do a stupid printout.
Okay.
So,
Yes,
yeah,
maybe we'll do-
I've got too many different things for me.
Alright, perfect. So we'll do that. We'll just send them to you weekly. We may just throw them in a link that updates That way, you don't have to go like searching back through your emails, like
Yeah.
any link in any of the emails will bring you to the same place.
Oh, that'll work.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, James.
Yep, you got it.
We usually get going ahead of time. While we start going through the invoices and such, anything on the styles, have they come back since the last meeting?
They have not come back. I'll prod them again because I've got another batch that I gotta test and type in and send out.
Because they did, the last meeting, they had said they had a bunch, there were more, and they were failing, and they were supposed to
Right.
be coming back with maybe why they were failing. And we still haven't heard anything back.
I haven't heard anything back.
Well, it's their advantage.
Why are we giving them so much
I was gonna
rope?
say, well,
Huh?
What?
Why are we giving these people so much rope?
Well, it's not, they send it to the factory, they don't, and they can't force the factory to work any faster.
so it's basically Badger.
Yeah,
Is the one holding us up, not them,
but someone's losing money here,
but.
no?
I don't know that they're losing any money, is the problem, is they're,
Is
They-
the town losing
Sti-
any money, or the
Styles-
people losing any money?
Yeah, we gotta make a
The
decision.
end users?
yeah, I mean, they lose money, both them and Badger, if we go to somebody else for the meters, basically.
But those two gentlemen came in at least 5 months ago.
Wow. Too much, yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
I'd say more like 3, right?
I would say about 3. Yes, they did come in.
But they didn't give us a heck of a lot of,
I'll prod
I
them
mean,
again.
it could have been 5 months, that would have
I
been,
can look if you want, you just have to go over there.
if you don't mind.
When's it,
check
5
it.
months ago?
5 months would have been last year.
Fine.
What?
They came in, it was after the first of the year that they came in, I thought.
No,
I mean, I could be losing it too, so don't go.
I thought they came in like November. But I could be wrong.
Well, one of us apparently is.
Right.
What do we put in the enterprise?
Didn't put anything in.
Got a bill from them. Or is that just,
That might just be for the
oh,
paper
that's
itself.
to get the paper in here, okay.
She going, what is she doing, going in the minutes?
Yeah, she's gonna check when he was in. Might have been.
December 15th,
How much?
December 15th.
Well,
So did I say November? Yeah.
so basically 4 months. So
Sorry.
split the difference.
Sorry.
No, I apologize to you because it's the same thing.
I know that's hard.
Yours, it really hurts.
It really hurts. Pain.
Okay, so Jay, good, that's the next thing on the agenda, we'll look at that after. And, okay, that was his, Seth passes class?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a test, yep.
I'm gonna give him an extra one on that one.
Pass that down to you, please. Thank you.
Okay. Sign that, or not. All right, JID invoice on Lincoln Street.
It's in there to be signed.
It is, and that was they agreed with what we came
Yes,
up with
they
as far
gave-
as what it was worth.
In behind, you can see several invoices where they correct their invoice down to be 2,500.
Yeah, good, because they're still starting at
11,000.
12,257.83. Current due. All right, credited out to 0. And there's the invoice for the 2,500.
That's what we agreed to.
Tough getting there.
Yeah, like 3 months.
There were no abatements this month, just the one refund for the house that had sold. It's done. Let's sign this.
Excuse me?
Where do you want me to sign this, Terry?
And you can sign it.
Any page,
Yeah. They're all different months. That's backtracked to one.
but as long as you have it on one,
No, they're all separate,
they're all separate.
unfortunately, yeah.
pay National Grid anything anyway, I pay them enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, superintendent's job description, with everything in the last month, I have not been able to go through any more detail than what Mark had already given. Let's try to have that for the next meeting, we can actually talk about it in some detail and figure out about potentially where to go looking for advertising, when to advertise. You haven't heard of any places around maybe that someone's gonna be looking to make a move
No.
by any chance,
No.
that we can start trying to cherry pick somebody? But that for the next meeting, Lincoln Street will be, there was something about an open house or a walkthrough going on for
I
Lincoln
went to the
Street. Did
walkthrough,
you-
and they fixed the hydrant that they were supposed to fix by Church Street, so we didn't really have any issues. They left some curb boxes sticking up out of the ground, and some of the hydrants were buried with the improper buried hydrant. There's nothing you can do to them now, because they're buried in, and I can't say that as we drive around town, all of ours are perfect.
Those ones inside their site?
Well, they're not inside their site, they're, one's like on the entrance to their site, and then one's down on Lincoln Street itself.
Or are they buried past the flange?
No, they're sticking up out of the ground.
Or too far?
Yeah. That's why we don't select a hydrant until we're down, we've removed the old one and know what the bury is now.
Can I go back to the superintendent's job?
Yep.
Can we have something in a meeting, maybe we can designate talking?
That's what I just said would try to do for the
I
next
think we
meeting.
should.
No, we should, I plan to do it for this, I just, with last month getting out of hand, I just, between, you know,
I mean,
I just didn't have the time to get to it.
I mean,
Yeah,
if we
busy month,
can,
that's not bad.
if we can have Tater, if it's kind of slow for him, maybe we can slide it in.
Well, I was planning, we'd do it after he's out, regardless of how much time, it needs to get done.
Yeah. And when is Wayne leaving?
December,
Yeah, so we're.
probably the 1st. I
Nah,
have to go down and see them, and I'll get that in hopefully before the next meeting.
so we wanna get, it's not from lack of trying, but
No.
there's enough stuff going on.
Yeah, you got a busy
Very
month
things here
Last
that-
month, that, so we understand.
Yeah.
But no, again, it's not like, well, if he takes us till 6 o'clock and we need to go longer, we'll just keep going afterwards, that's all.
You know, if you need John to help you, he'll be more than happy.
Thank you for donating my services, but I'm always available 24/7 to the time.
You like the grease traps?
You name it. It's on the
Uh,
10.09 of 248C.
There we go.
Oh. Sorry. All right, that comes through everything on the agenda. Anything someone would like to bring up for discussion? No vote?
I have nothing to discuss except I'll make a motion to adjourn if that was the case.
Well,
Next meeting is April 20th.
Thank you.
Second.
Ash Street is on the schedule for next week, with a rain date with the following week out. And MBL is beginning to work their way back through the process again. That's 0 Matfield Street.
Oh, over there.
Well, all right.
I just thought I'd mention it.
Have Kerry put something on the agenda.
I don't have any plans, I haven't
Okay.
seen anything, so I have.
I know where they were at the time everything stopped.
Yeah,
So if we do, if we get anything out, it's gonna have to come back to us anyway,
yeah.
so we'll find out. It'll just go on the agenda.
Next meeting, agenda?
Not next meeting unless, if I hear anything or find out anything, I'll let you know to put it on, because I don't wanna put it back on and bump it, but it'll just be regular business and it wouldn't be anything, before we had to have it on as an executive. The new stuff coming through shouldn't have to be that way. All right, so motion was made and seconded to adjourn.
Aye.
Second. Aye.
For adjourn.